On a warm playoff night, two teams stepped onto the court to decide who would advance to the WNBA finals. But what should have been a battle between two basketball powerhouses slowly unraveled into something far more unsettling. It wasn't just a game. It became a case study in how a whistle can change everything. Tonight, we're dissecting one of the most talked about playoff series in recent WNBA history, Las Vegas Aces versus Indiana Fever, a matchup that showcased incredible talent but ended under a cloud of controversy. Aaliyah Boston, rookie sensation, defensive anchor, the heart of Indiana's improbable playoff run. A'ja Wilson, the league's reigning superstar, two-time MVP, the face of Las Vegas basketball. Their clash was supposed to define this series, Boston's discipline and power against Wilson's skill and scoring. But as the games unfolded, something else stole the spotlight: the officiating. Through 5 games, the numbers painted a strange picture. Wilson on 26 free throw attempts, Boston just 17. But here's the kicker: nearly half of Boston's free throws came in a single game, Game 4, when the Aces deliberately fouled in the final minute to stretch the clock. Remove that sequence, and the gap becomes impossible to ignore. For 2 opening games, Boston didn't shoot a single free throw, not one. She absorbed contact in the post all night, and the whistle stayed silent. But the free throw disparity was only the beginning. A deeper look at the game film revealed something even more staggering. Throughout the series, Wilson repeatedly set moving screens, sliding feet, extending hips, creating massive openings for her teammates. Independent analysts reviewing the footage counted 37 uncalled moving screens. That's nearly 8 per game. Each illegal screen gave the Aces extra space for open layups or wide-open threes. And not once was the whistle blown. Meanwhile, Boston struggled to set a single clean pick without being penalized. One screen in Game 5, textbook form, feet planted, no lean, was somehow whistled as offensive. That single call erased a Fever possession in a 4-point game and shifted momentum entirely. By the time the decisive Game 5 arrived, tension was high. Both teams had battled fiercely. The Fever were holding their own against the defending champs. And then, the whistle took over. In the third quarter, Boston set a clean screen at the top of the key. Officials called it a moving screen. Replays told a different story. No shuffle, no extension, nothing illegal. Even the commentators fell silent. Moments later, Megan Gustafson sold a foul like a seasoned actor. Boston made a routine move in the post. Gustafson launched backward dramatically. The officials fell for it. Another foul on Boston. Back-to-back phantom calls forced Boston to play cautiously, exactly when her team needed her presence most. And then came the moment fans still talk about. Late in regulation, with the game hanging in the balance, Boston boxed out perfectly for a rebound. Jackie Young stumbled into her. The foul on Boston. That was her 6th. With 27 seconds left in the game tied, Boston, Indiana's defensive core, was fouled out on what many called a ghost call. She walked to the bench in disbelief. The Fever's defensive structure cracked, and Vegas seized control. The officiating wasn't just controversial in isolated moments. It was systematic. Over the 5-game series, Boston was called for 19 personal fouls. Wilson, 14. But here's the twist. Boston defended Wilson one-on-one on nearly every possession, absorbing elbows, staying vertical, contesting every shot. Wilson, on the other hand, was frequently switched onto smaller guards to conserve energy. Yet Boston accumulated more fouls. In the closing minutes of Game 5 and overtime, Vegas attempted 13 free throws in 2 minutes. 13. In what should have been a showcase of execution under pressure, the game became a parade to the line. To understand how the whistle swung so dramatically, you have to rewind to Wilson's comments after Game 4. At the post-game podium, despite having more free throws than Boston through 4 games, Wilson suggested the officiating was targeting her team. Her words weren't accidental, they were strategic. By painting her team as the victim, Wilson planted a seed of doubt in the officials' minds ahead of the decisive game. And when Game 5 tipped off, the results were clear. The pendulum swung hard toward Las Vegas. Boston fouled out on phantom calls. Wilson continued drawing contact and heading to the line. The Fever fought, but the whistle had already chosen a side. After the final buzzer, the scoreboard showed a Las Vegas victory. But for many, the real story wasn't on the stat sheet, It was in the officiating. Fans flooded social media with frame-by-frame breakdowns. Commentators highlighted missed travels, double dribbles, moving screens, and questionable fouls. Words like protection, double standard, and orchestration filled the timeline. Lexi Hull spoke openly afterward about the physical toll of guarding Wilson, the elbows, the shoves, the constant contact. The Fever's bench reflected frustration not with the opponent, but with the lack of consistency. Indiana didn't fold. Caitlin Clark cheered from the sidelines. The Fever fought through every tilted whistle. They played with grit, heart, and unity. But the series slipped away. Not because of talent, but because of control. This isn't about blaming one player. Wilson is an extraordinary talent. But when the numbers, the film, and the timing all point in one direction, the question becomes unavoidable. How does one player operate under a different rulebook? The WNBA markets its stars. That's part of the game. But when star treatment crosses into selective enforcement, the credibility of the sport itself is at stake. Boston's free throw drought, the moving screens, the foul disparity, and the late-game whistle storm weren't random events. They formed a pattern, and that pattern shaped the outcome of a playoff series. For Indiana, this painful ending might just be the beginning of something greater. Boston's leadership, Clark's emergence, Hull's toughness, they've forged a young core that refuses to back down. This series gave them more than heartbreak. It gave them identity. For the league, however, the questions linger. Officiating won't always be perfect, but transparency, accountability, and consistency are non-negotiable if fans are to trust the game they love. What happened in the Aces Fever series wasn't just a collection of bad calls. It was a turning point, a moment when the whistle became the story. And until those questions are answered, every highlight from that night will carry a shadow. If you found this breakdown eye-opening, hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives, and turn on notifications so you never miss the stories behind the scoreboard.